Before we prime and paint this, we've got to fill the pores. We'll do it together today on the Guitar Foster Parent. Hi, and welcome back to Guitar Foster Parent. I'm John McLain, where we believe that every guitar deserves to be played. It's great to have you with us today as we're going to work on filling the pores. Wood is porous, right? And even when you can't see them, they're there. This is a program where our projects unfold before our very eyes. I don't do these in advance and then redo them for you on the camera. I discover as I go. Last time when we sanded this guitar body, I left the program before we finished sanding, but when I did get finished with the fine sanding, I noticed a problem. Well, maybe not a problem, a feature. Lots of areas on the guitar body where we have little valleys and little depressions, and when we prime and paint this, guess what? Those are going to show up in the finish, especially when we look at an angle and when light hits it. Even a matte finish is going to show those. We don't want that. I want this to be as smooth as possible. So we're adding in a step called pore filling. We're going to use several supplies. We'll go over the process and do it together here in just a moment. By the way, you want swag? You get swag. Just send me an email to john@guitarfosterparent.com and I will send you some pics and decals absolutely free as my gift to you for watching the Guitar Foster Parent and supporting us. Thank you so much. Also, please, while you're thinking about it, please click like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. That's another great way to support the Guitar Foster Parent. It doesn't cost you a nickel, just a few mouse clicks, and they, last time I checked, are still free. And now let's get to the process. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to need a lot of supplies for this. I've never done this before. I've said that a lot during this project. But in all things, there is a first time. So I've educated myself, and here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is, even though I have wiped this down, there's still superfine dust and oils. Every time I touch this guitar, I'm getting oils from my fingers all over it, and that's going to, even though we can't see it with our naked eye, that's going to react differently to our primer and paint and might cause some little dark spots or artifacts. We don't want that kind of thing. I certainly don't think anybody wants to be the forever home of a guitar with my handprint in it. So what we're going to do first is prepare the surface. Just like a surgeon wipes a bunch of goo around the part he's going to cut to fix your knee or whatever, we're going to prepare this surface for our own little bit of surgery with this product right here. This is called naphtha. And this particular bottle is sold by Stumac, which is a supplier of many products and supplies for people that build and fix up guitars. This is a solvent, but as it says right on the label, it's designed to clean dirt and oil from bare wood. That sounds like exactly what we need. Now, there's a couple of warnings on the back that I want to make you aware of. This stuff's a lot like paint thinner. It's very flammable, so no smoking, no cigars or anything like that while you're doing this. Also, it has some fumes to it. It smells, let's do the chemistry class thing here. It smells a little bit like turpentine, like paint thinner. That's pretty much what it is, although it has an ingredient in it that I think doesn't dry out the wood maybe quite so bad. Anyway, not expensive, and we're going to use this product. And what we're going to do is apply it with a blue shop towel. I've seen a lot of people use these. These are cheap. You can get them by the roll. And we're going to apply some of this to the towel. We're going to wipe with the grain and wipe this down really good. It should dry really quickly. And now we'll have a surgically clean guitar body for the next step. And what is that next step? I'm glad you asked. Next, we're going to apply our finishing resin. Now, make sure when you get this that it says finishing resin, because there are different types of resins. We want the finishing kind. Inside the kit, you will find 2 bottles of goo. One is the resin itself, the other is the hardener. And what we're going to do, per the instructions, is we're going to put 50-50 equal parts into a little mixing cup. Got some popsicle sticks. What we're going to do is we're going to mix thoroughly. I'm told that mixing thoroughly, they use the word thoroughly on purpose, because if you don't mix this stuff thoroughly, it won't harden correctly. So we're going to stir and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir, probably for a couple of full minutes to make sure that the hardener and the resin are fully mixed. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our stick and drizzle some of that stuff, now called finishing resin, on the guitar body near the spots where we think a lot of the indentations are. And how do we know? Well, we can feel them. We can also see some of them. Then what we're going to do is take one of these little flexible plastic spreaders. Now I'm using a brand new one. I had some of these, but some of them had little dorked up parts of the edge where I had, dented them in on a prior project. That's no good for this because that's going to leave a mountain range on the surface of the guitar. This is a brand new spreader with a factory edge, and then we're just going to simply take the resin and we're going to work it into the guitar. Now, a couple things to bear in mind. We don't want to be filling resin into the little pre-drilled holes where our bridge and our pickguard and the different things will eventually go back on. So we want to be careful to spread away from those areas and also spread away from the edges. We don't want to be spilling over into these cavities in the guitar here because then that's just going to harden and it's going to look bad and might interfere with some of our hardware that we put on later. So we're going to be careful where we spread this stuff. The idea is we're going to spread a very thin layer, and as we do, it will fill in the nooks and crannies that are either there organically or that we created when we got a little rambunctious with our scraper, which I warned you about, but I did it. Of course I did. So once that's done, then we're going to do a very fine sanding. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our good friend, Mr. Sanding Block, and some of our very fine grit sandpaper. I've got some 3000, some 2000, some 2500. We'll take some very fine sandpaper and sand our resined guitar surface. The goal being, we should have something that's almost like glass. I'm going to use my fingers, my sense of touch, and I'm going to see if I can feel anything that doesn't feel like a piece of glass on this guitar body. If I do, we'll do another coating of the resin. This is the kind of resin that says it has a working time of 20 to 30 minutes, meaning at about the 20-minute mark, depending on humidity and temperature, it's going to start to coagulate and harden. Once that happens, this cup is going to become more and more useless. And when it's thick and glumpy, it's not going to get into the very fine pores in the wood that we want. So I'm going to mix a very small batch of this because this is going to take more than 20 minutes to do, I think, and I can always mix more, but I don't want to waste it. So I'm probably just going to mix 1 fluid ounce of the resin to work with. If I run out, I'll mix more, but that way if it starts to harden on me, I can toss away a mostly empty cup and start a new batch and have less waste. Makes sense, right? And by the way, you know those commercials that make fun of guys like me who save things and don't just throw them away? This wood I've had for over 30 years. It's part of an old bookshelf that I haven't used in forever. And instead of just throwing it to the curb, I harvested pieces of this is solid wood, and I thought someday I can use it for something. Also, this little corner bracket came off of something, I don't remember what it was, but now I can use it and make my L. And it doesn't have to be exact because it's basically an extra arm to hold this thing in the air while I work on it. So the moral of the story is, make fun of us all you want, but us old fellows do sometimes reuse our recycled materials. Couple final things. For safety, we're going to glove up when we use our solvent and when we use our epoxy. And this solvent says don't get it in your eyes or, the sky will fall. So we'll put on our safety goggles. You won't see those because I'm going to focus you down on the business end of the project. But trust me, I care about my peepers. I'm going to protect them. Let's fill some pores. All right, we're gloved up. We've got our shop towel, guitar body on our cardboard. Now let's open up our naphtha. Now this stuff does have some fumes, okay? It's not terrible, but it's not something that you're gonna want to, breathe directly. So I've got it away from my face. I'm in a fairly well ventilated area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it like this. Get a little bit on our towel. I'm gonna get a little couple areas because I think this thing's probably pretty dusty. We're going to set this way out of the way so we can't knock it over. Ask me how I know. And then we're just going to start wiping down our guitar body, going with the grain because I think that's where most of the stuff is going to be. And look, man, even this makes it look pretty good. Look at that. All right, so we're just going to start wiping down this thing, pressing pretty hard. I want this to get in and penetrate all the spots of the guitar, and you can see it dries pretty fast. Okay, get a little bit more. Stuff's really pretty easy to work with. Okay, over here, and just wipe her down. Now, flip it over on the other side. One thing that you might note, I am laying it on the cardboard. This cardboard is clean. This was actually used for packing material. It was never exposed to the elements, so it doesn't have all the grime and stuff that you get off your courier's van. It's a pretty clean piece of cardboard, so I'm not going to worry too much about contaminants coming off of that. I did wipe this down, by the way, so it should be pretty free of contaminants. Now let's do the front. The camera's not picking up this fully, which is a shame, because when you wipe this stuff on, it really gives the wood this funky kind of iridescent effect. It also enhances the spots where I need to, look at the marks that we put. This is from the heat gun. Remember, I warned you about that. When I was learning, I got a little aggressive, and see these marks? This is part of what the pore fill is going to help correct. Had I been more careful, I wouldn't have as much to correct, but some of this stuff is just characterizations of an inexpensive piece of guitar wood. And look at that. This is dust and oils from our guitar. And we are now surgically clean, doctor. Now, before we bracket it up with my cool L bracket, which I am quite proud of, and I'll show you in more detail here in a second, we can go ahead and lay this down on our cardboard. In fact, I'm going to turn this kind of like this. I wish this cardboard was a little bigger, but it'll be okay. We'll be extra careful. And now it's time to mix up our epoxy. Epoxy, hardener. We're going to do equal parts in this little mixing cup and mix it thoroughly with this popsicle stick. Keep our little caps so that we don't lose them. I'm going to set those right there. Equal parts. I'm going to mix 1 ounce of this stuff. So I'm going to put the epoxy in first, and I'm going to measure it up to about ½ ounce. Here we go. Oh, this is exciting. This looks a lot like corn syrup. All right, there's that. And now I'm going to fill this up to the 1 ounce mark. And we should be good. You'll have to trust me. I mixed that for a full 2 minutes. It's time to start filling. Now what we're going to do, now the clock is running at this point, right? We got about 20 minutes before this starts to change. Here's our scraper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this popsicle stick and I'm going to get some of this and I'm going to drizzle it right down here like this. All right, we're going to start with just a little. I'm going to set that aside so I don't spill it. And now I'm going to take my scraper and I'm just going to start working this in, okay? Remember, we're going to try to be careful not to get it in the little holes, right? This does not have to be with the grain. The idea is to get the epoxy to fill in all the little dents and so forth that we have in our guitar. I'm going to take it all the way to the edge. And remember, this step does not have to be perfect, but when we get it as flat as possible, we are going to be sanding this, remember. So if there's some little, ridges and rises here and there, it's okay, because we'll sand those flat. I just drizzled a little bit on here, and look how far it's going, because again, we're doing a very thin layer with our little scraper. They also sell something that looks like a windshield wiper. It's like more of a squeegee than a scraper, or a spreader. This is not a scraper. If you use this as a scraper, you'll ruin it. It's a spreader. They sell those as well. I didn't have any, and you know, I'm on a budget, so I didn't really mess with getting them. I think this is going to work fine. The idea is, and again, if we weren't sanding, it would be a lot more critical. We're going to sand this afterwards. And so if I have excess, I can just kind of take and bring it around. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't mix any more of this because a little definitely goes a long way. One thing that I've seen guys do is actually take their finger and help themselves along. So super, like there's a pretty big depression right here. So I'm gonna actually use my finger and dab some in there and then kind of smooth over it. Now, one thing that's your friend, there's a video light over here. That video light is shining across the surface at an angle. And as I'm coming down like this and looking across the surface, it really gives me a pretty good look at where some spots I may have missed are. And we're going to use that same glancing light technique when we sand to make sure that we get it nice and smooth as well. See right here, I've identified a little spot right there, and I'm going to dab just maybe a drop right in there, and then kind of do that, and then just feather it out. These are like knot holes, I think, which, you know, in a pristine custom shop quality body, you know, where they take a piece of wood that's been, you know, graded and judged and, you know, determined that it's worthy for a guitar that's going to cost, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 off the rack. You're not going to have these imperfections. This guitar sold for, I think, about $200 brand new. So this is obviously a veneered piece of wood. I don't even know what it is. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. This guitar is going to make music if I have anything to say about it. And we're going to place this in a forever home where it will make music. By the way, since we've mentioned that, if you're new to our channel, we give all these guitars away, absolutely free. We just give them away. We place them in forever homes where they'll make music. This guitar was abandoned. It was sitting at the bottom of somebody's closet. You know, it was busted up and scratched, and it had been abandoned. But when we're done with this, we're going to give it away to a forever home where it will make music. And that's the whole reason why we're doing all this. By the way, if you like and subscribe, you're getting us closer where we can actually start to earn and help to underwrite some of these expenses. Because I had to buy this epoxy, I had to buy the naphtha chemical, I had to buy the guitar, I had to buy the parts. We're going to be putting a pickup in this. You know, if you've ever shopped for pickups, you know that they don't come free. And I'm not going to put junk in this thing. What's the point? Okay, I'm going to call this good. And now it's time to show you my super cool L bracket. I'm going to bolt this part of the L bracket right here that has this long, and I'm going to bolt it through the center hole, which is a hang hole. These 4 holes are sacred. We're not going to mess with those. That's where the neck is going to bolt on, obviously. These center holes were drilled by the manufacturer when they hang it up to paint it. We're going to utilize that hole, and we're going to put this little skinny bolt through there. And then I'm going to fasten this into my bench vise down here and hang this in midair so we can epoxy the other side. Savvy? So what I'm going to do is, I practiced this before. Practice makes perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the neck pocket here, and I'm going to thread this through just like that. Okay? Set her down. Now what I have is I've got that on my fingers. It's starting to set up. It's getting a little sticky. I have one of these little sheetrock deals. Now remember, this part of the guitar here, and I didn't really need to spread in here because this is going to be covered with a metal plate. So what I'm going to do is thread this on, give it a couple of spins, and once it gets just seated, now I can pick her up. See there? Isn't that cool? And then I can mount it into my vise. And I'm going to be careful to get plenty of that in there so that my vise will hold it nice and tight. What do you think? Now, to get this, see it's still moving a little bit, I'm going to support this and I'm going to turn this screw and let that bite in a little bit, and then that's going to hold this a little more steady for us. Okay, and again, it doesn't have to be super duper tight, and it's going to move some because this is holding a lot of weight out, but my arm's not holding it. And now, magic. Our epoxy side is up underneath drying, and now I'm so excited about this invention. Now we can take our epoxy, which is still usable because it's been far less than 20 minutes, and we can start doing the top. All right, I'm going to let it go and let it hang. Hey, how about that? And I didn't start a timer, but I would say we've probably been at this, about 10 minutes. And this stuff is starting to change. The viscosity is starting to thicken a little bit. Here it is. It's still quite usable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working on the sides of the guitar. This is going to be a little tricky. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to release this from the vise and I'm going to set it on its side. Actually, let's do this side first, okay? Turn my cardboard. Now the cool thing also about this L is that it kind of holds it and keeps it from trying to tip over, which is nice. And I'm going to I'd hate to waste this, so I'm going to go ahead and do this way. Wowzer! All right, well, we're still gloved up. I'm going to finish this, but I need to wait for this stuff to set up. Now, what I'm going to do, it says 20 to 30 minutes. I think I'm going to wait like an hour and a half, and here's why. I want to be patient. It is a virtue after all. So I'm going to wait a little while, and then I'm going to come back and finish the sides and the insides of the hooks, the contours of the guitar. And then next time we're going to get together and we'll sand it. And I'm going to show you, I learned a technique to tell how much you need to sand it. But that's the idea, that's pore filling. All right, you're filling in the pores of the wood, you're sanding it flat so it's glassy. And then what we'll do next time also is after we sand, we'll tack cloth it. And at that point, we'll be ready to hang it in the paint booth, which I'll show you, and put our first coats of primer on. We're getting close to having a beautiful dark blue pearl finish on this GeoJazz project. Hey, if you had fun, if you liked this video, if you thought it was helpful, if you thought it was fun, if you like me, if you like guitars, those are all good reasons to click like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And that will help us grow. We are over 300 subscribers. In fact, I haven't looked lately. We may be getting close to 3.25, maybe 350. That's awesome. I want that to become 3 million because the more subscribers we have, the more unloved, unwanted guitars we can put in forever homes and they'll make music again. That's the whole point, because every guitar deserves to be played. We'll be back very, very shortly with our next video, and we'll finish up this pore filling and sanding process as this GeoJazz starts to take shape. I'm very excited. I hope you are too. Get in touch, John at guitarfosterparent.com. We'll see you next time on The Guitar Foster Parent. Goodbye for now.